Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a form of hypnosis that utilizes parts negotiation as a technique. Now, this client that I was working with had dramatically reduced his consumption of cocaine, but would still feel a desire and urge under certain triggers. And those triggers could be loneliness or overwhelm or stress. But effectively, in a lot of cases, objectively, he knew that cocaine was not the best solution to the problem of loneliness or stress or overwhelm. So therefore, what we could deduce is that these were stories, these were justifications or excuses to do something that a part of him wanted to do. And what was evident is that he had different subpersonalities that were activated at different triggers or different times of the day. So he knew that the person that would wake up in the morning would never dream of consuming cocaine. We could call that the sensible part. But then he had this other part that as it drifted towards the evening would almost look for reasons to consume. And he called this part Roger. Now, Roger, he estimated intuitively would be about 12 or 13 years old. So it was kind of like a younger version, not a child, but kind of on the verge of adolescence. And therefore, it's not unreasonable that, a child, a boy of that age, 12, 13, would want, kind of the gratification, the pleasure at that particular point. So what you're going to hear is a form of disassociation using a holiday resort location that he identified with in Thailand, and then utilizing that to create a dialogue with this character, Roger. Now, Roger represents the part that wanted to consume cocaine. Now, what a lot of people do is they try and fight these parts or they ignore these parts. But if these parts are leading to addictive behavior, they're normally quite tenacious. They're normally quite persuasive. So instead of exiling Roger and instead of replacing Roger with a different part, what you hear in this session is a form of negotiation where parameters are agreed with Roger that although cocaine is off limits, he will have one evening a week of a few hours that he gets to indulge in just reckless fun. There is two conditions though. One is that it can't cause harm to the individual, so to the client I'm working with, and secondly, that it can't cause harm to other people. But outside of that, he gets to be this kind of indulgent, almost kind of like teenage slobbish, kind of behavior. And those parameters also had consequences. So if he wants to keep this parameter, then he has to be responsible within the confines of this parameter. If he abuses that, then it could be reduced to less time or in fact removed altogether. And this is an attempt to find a middle ground because this part really did have good intentions. It wanted fun, it wanted gratification, it wanted, this kind of free spirit kind of approach. But at the same time, it wasn't connecting the dots of the consequences. So you'll hear at the beginning of the hypnosis session a collision of cause and effect because the client I was working with did have genuine negative consequences as a result of cocaine use. And sometimes if you collide them together, that can create a catalyst for at least the opportunity for change. Obviously, if you're listening to this, it's highly likely that you have some kind of addiction or maybe are using cocaine and also don't want to. in which case you might find this useful, but with parts negotiation, it's very much tailored to the individual. It's highly unlikely that your conflicted part is called Roger, for example. So there will be a link in the show notes that you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation call with me. And then I can go through exactly what my approach and techniques might be if I'm working with you directly. But either way, it's worth listening to this because it might give you some insight into the idea that actually, if it feels like there's an inner struggle with your addiction, that there's a part of you that wants to change and there's a part that desperately wants to hold on to this addiction or habit, you might still get some increased self-awareness or insight from this hypnosis session. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, close your eyes. That's right. I want you to focus on the sound of my voice, but also on the sound of the music. As you breathe in, imagine breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that feelings of tension, stress, and overwhelm are just leaving your body in your outward breath. Breathing in and breathing out, and just allow the outward breath to be longer than it normally would be, enabling you to fully exhale. And as you breathe in, accepting that you're breathing in something good, something resourceful, something useful, enabling you to really release that tension, enabling you to go deeper and deeper relaxed. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a beach. Not just any beach. I want you to imagine a beach in Thailand. Maybe a beach connected to a villa or a place that you would consider safe, like a sanctuary. And I want you to imagine walking out onto that beach on a sunny day, and the beach is empty, completely private. Perhaps there's a hammock on the beach or a lounger. And I want you to choose a place that feels the most comfortable for you. So as you breathe in and breathe out, you can position your body just in your imagination on that place, on that beach. And you could become aware of all the things you would be aware if you were on that beach. The warmth of the sun on your skin. Hearing, perhaps, the waves gently break on the shore. If there's sand, maybe you can feel the sand beneath your toes. If there's a breeze, feel the breeze. If there's any other sounds around you, imagine hearing those sounds. And maybe there's a smell. Maybe it's the salt in the air. Maybe it's a fragrance from a flower or a nearby tree. As you find yourself drifting deeper and deeper relaxed. I want you to position your body there in that place, in the most comfortable position for you. Continue to imagine you're breathing in a feeling of resourcefulness and exhaling tension. Getting a sense that tension is just melting away like an ice cube in the sun. In fact, I will count down from 10 to 1, and with each descending number, you will feel deeper and deeper relaxed. 10. Any muscle tension around the eyes, the eyebrows, around the eyelids. Just feel your eyes are getting heavier and heavier, releasing feelings of tension. And imagine what it would feel like for your eyes to be tightly locked shut, that even if you tried to open them, they just wouldn't open. As more of that tension completely and totally is released from around your eyes. And feel that feeling of relaxation now shift up to your forehead. Just melting away that tension. From your forehead down your temple, down into your jaw, 8. Feeling more and more relaxed now. I want you to imagine your jaw almost like a mechanical jaw with rusted metal. And as you breathe in this resourceful feeling of relaxation, just imagine that metal jaw is becoming like brand new metal and oiled in the right joints, enabling tension to be released in your jaw. And it feels relaxing as that feeling of relaxation now goes from the top of your head all the way down the back of your head, down into your neck and your shoulders. The 7 turns into 6, and you can feel that tension just being released. 5, flowing down your arms all the way down to your fingers. Arms feeling limp, loose, heavy. As you breathe in, that 5 turns to 4, and even your internal organs start to relax. Your heart, lungs, stomach, diaphragm all relax. There on that beach. Going deeper, relaxed, that's it. 4, and then 3, down into your gut, releasing any feelings of anxiety going into your legs. Legs getting limp, loose, heavy. Maybe feeling a sensation like pins and needles, or a feeling of numbness, rigidity. That's it, 2, and then 1, and just get a sense that you're falling asleep there on that beach. And allow your imagination to create a sensible part. The part that might wake up in the morning to be wandering around this beach. And that part can look and see you fast asleep there on that beach. And if I'm now talking to the sensible, logical, measured version of you, just let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to decide that the trajectory that you're on isn't taking you to a good place. And I want you to think of a specific possible moment in the future that could happen if things don't change. It could involve people that aren't even born yet. And I want you to see something that could happen, but only if you continue on the path that you're on. But you already know this possible future. We need to introduce a different part. I want you to hold this thought and call forth a part that we're going to call Roger. A part that is impulsive, tenacious, seeking gratification and pleasure. And I want you to hold this thought and imagine it almost like a giant cinema screen floating over the beautiful sea. And I want you to bring forth Roger to witness this future possibility. And when Roger is there to see it, just let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to read Roger's facial expression. Roger perhaps could be concerned, but he may be defensive. He could be rattled by what he's seeing. or just carefree, believing it to be none of his concern. But I want you to communicate with Roger and to let him know that anything that could lead to a detrimental consequence will no longer be acceptable. And if Roger understands, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine here on this beach that it is a time to agree a new future. A future that meets Roger's needs, but at the same time avoids disastrous future consequences. I want you to ask Roger if he's happy to find a compromise. And if Roger is happy to find a compromise, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to ask Roger if it's okay if I speak to him directly. And if he is, just let me know by nodding your head. And then I want you to shift perspective until you feel like you are occupying the entity of Roger. I want you to adjust your posture, your mannerisms, so that Roger is you and you are Roger. And when you feel that you are completely associated with Roger, that as I'm talking to you, I'm talking to Roger, this part, this willful part, this tenacious part, let me know by nodding your head. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Roger. You are very influential, and I think you have good intentions. I think at some level you're trying to solve problems, and I think sometimes you need help. And I think sometimes you believe that a substance can help you to access different emotions, different feelings that you feel is somehow offsetting other emotions in a different part of this world in which you coexist. And if I'm correct in thinking that you have positive intentions, just let me know by nodding your head. And I think when you saw that future, there was a part that made you think that that wouldn't happen, because you don't want to accept that it could happen. So rather than looking forward, I want you to look backwards and think of all the consequences that have already happened as a result of your good intentions. I want you to think of a time where it caused great emotional pain. I want you to think of a time where, as a result of your good intentions, it caused a conflict. A time when it caused shame and embarrassment. A time where it caused not pain for you, but pain for the people that you love and you care for. I want you to think of moments in the past that have led to a financial consequence, a perception consequence that people see you differently than how they did before. I want you to think of a specific health consequence as a result of your good intentions. I want you to relive the pain of that health consequence. And I'm wondering if we can find a better future, because you have good intentions, and I don't think you intended for any of these things to happen. And if I'm correct in that assertion, let me know by nodding your head. Therefore, what we can deduce is that your good intentions quite frequently lead to bad outcomes. And you don't mean for that to happen. And that's why we need to look at the bigger picture. And we can accept that the current way of doing things is too risky, causes too much pain. It threatens your very existence. And why would you want to be an influential captain on a ship that is sinking? What if you could be an influential part of a ship that is sailing to a beautiful future? Wouldn't you rather be on that ship? You have qualities that are impressive. A level of tenacity that is unmatched. A level of focus and determination. A willingness to be adventurous, to break some rules, and to have some danger and excitement. And I'm wondering if you're willing for a future in which you get to meet those needs in a new way. That we have acceptable parameters, boundaries that are good for you, that mean that you get to be who you want to be. But in certain measures. There are people that go on holiday 3 or 4 times a year and they really enjoy that holiday. And maybe they retire and they go on holiday all the time and they stop finding it enjoyable. Because scarcity creates value. Sometimes less is more. And if you agree with that assertion, let me know by nodding your head. When you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, there is no value. Having moments of freedom within parameters means that you look forward to those moments. You plan for those moments. In the same way that an amazing vacation or holiday space, you'll think about it before it happens, thinking about all the good experiences you will have. And that enhances that experience. So my suggestion is one of 2 things. Either we accept that you're a liability, and as a result of your good intentions, you cause too many problems, in which case there is no place for you in this future. You don't get to ride on this ship to this beautiful destination. But that would be a shame because you have such incredible qualities, this tenacity, this lust for life, this excitement. So I'd like to suggest a better alternative. That you become the minister of fun. You become some part with increased responsibilities. The responsibility to make sure that there is balance to a stressful life. And there are only 2 parameters. And the parameter is you get to have free reign within a time window that is agreed. You don't get to be in control at times outside of what is already agreed. And the second is that you need to find less destructive ways of having fun. That any substance that could lead to consequences to your health, your well-being, that could cause damage to you or the people you love is off limits. But that gives infinite creativity for all the other ways in which you get to have fun. This means you need to be more strategic more prepared. You can be tenacious in new ways. You get to have fun in your window, but in a way where you get the upside without the downside. And the parameter for that is that there can be no shame afterwards. You can be fully transparent and open and honest with what you're doing in that window, because you're not embarrassed and have no shame about what you're doing. Now, this is a challenge. This is a challenge because you get to do what you want to do. And the only caveat is that it can't cause harm to you or to the people around you. This will require planning, intelligence, preparation, and even more tenacity than you've already shown. And if you're willing to take that increased responsibility, that step up in responsibility, to deal with difficult emotions in a positive way, let me know by nodding your head. The parameter that you will be given will be once per week. And the amount of time you'll be given will be increased if you show you can be responsible with that time, or it will be decreased if you prove not worthy. If too consistently you prove that you're not worthy of the time that you're given, then it will be given to a different part. You'll be aware that there are many different parts, and you're just one of many. And if you understand that this is a privilege and an opportunity to have an impact in new and creative ways without the downsides, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine that you see that sensible, logical part nearby. And I want the handshake or a hug to represent an agreement, a compromise, a way forward that works for everyone. You would never dream of burning down a house just to keep warm for a few minutes. So why would you risk so much for such a small, fleeting feeling? All parts are now in agreement. A win-win, a compromise, where you still get to have the fun, the enjoyment, but you do it in a way where you respect consequences, short-term and long-term, and you seek to find the win-win within your choices. Pleasure, but without pain. Excitement, but without danger. Fun without shame. And if you're completely 100% in agreement with this future, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to shift perspective to now be in that sensible, logical part of you that's been aware of this new agreement, and I want you to check if you're also happy with this agreement. You've tried all or nothing, and this is now a compromise. That some permissions are given, but within reason. And if you're happy with that future, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to return into that version of you sleeping there on that beach. Take all parts with you that are now working in agreement with no shame, no secrecy, no need to hide. You can be open. And doesn't it feel less stressful to be who you are, to not try and be someone you're not, to accept there is a part of you that likes things that other people may not understand, but they are useful and necessary for you. And by adding just these two parameters, you now get to be in harmony with yourself, no longer in conflict. You get to be who you want to be, but still having those needs met in new, creative and wonderful ways. I want you to imagine getting up from that place of slumber and walking around that beach, but feeling lighter on your feet, feeling that something has changed, feeling that the future that you desire is more possible than ever before, but realizing that this is a delicate alliance. And the proof is not in what's agreed, but the decisions that follow. And if all parts agree that this agreement is only based on the parts sticking to their agreement, and if they break the agreement, then the agreement can change. Let me know by nodding your head. Now I want you to return to the present, but take all these changes with you, getting a sense that the future trajectory is taking you to a wonderful destination, a positive future, with less stress, less anxiety, less shame, and more balance. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Get a sense that all parts are back in the present, here in this moment, with a new agreement going forward. You will awaken feeling positive, with a commitment to do whatever needs to be done to make this internal change an external reality. Counting from 1 to 10 to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.